Here's another example to get us thinking about when something should be an entity and when it should be an attribute. So look at this works in to relationship set in the upper right. Employees work in departments and a period from comma to. And because a relationship here is defined as the combination of an employee SSN and a department DID, implicitly what this is saying is that an employee can work in each department for exactly one from to period. It's not possible to be in there more than once with the same employee department pair. So if we want to allow employees and departments to have a working relationship over more than one period, we can pull out duration as a separate entity set as we see down below. Here now we have employees, departments, and durations that are in a relationship set together. That relationship set's called works in 3. And now an employee can be connected to a department for different durations that are differentiated by their from to pairs. Let's look at one more example where we consider the trade-off between modeling something as an entity or as a relationship. So we have our works in schema again, and we're going to introduce a new concept, which is that every budget's going to have a discretionary budget that the manager gets to decide how to use. It's separate from the regular budget. Now, of course, we could just record it as an attribute of the department, and that would be fine. But what if we wanted to give the manager the ability to use a D budget that was theirs across all the departments they manage? So if they manage 3 departments, they can decide how to break up that discretionary budget across those departments. Well, where would we keep track of the discretionary budget in the schema below? We could keep it in the department, but then we'd have to copy it to all the departments that an employee manages, and that risks the possibility that we don't keep it up to date. As we update it in one place, we might forget to update it in other places. So generally, it's not a great idea to have multiple copies of things. That redundancy, it wastes a little bit of space, but more importantly, it's hard to make sure that we keep everything in sync. Okay, so another way to do it is to just change the schema a bit. So there's a better design on the upper right, where instead of trying to jam more information into the entities and relationships we had before, we introduce a new entity set and new relationship sets to connect them. So in addition to employees and departments, we now have manager appointments. And instead of this works in relationship, we have employees who are managers through manager appointments, and we have departments that are managed by those manager appointments. Okay, and our discretionary budget fits on the manager appointment. All right, that's what it belongs to. So you don't get a D budget unless you're a manager, and it comes as part of your manager appointment. Notice the key constraint on manager appointments to is manager. So every manager appointment has 0 or 1 employees that fulfill that manager appointment. Similarly, in the other direction, employees has a key constraint. It says, I'm an employee. If I'm an employee, I participate 0 or 1 times in the idea of being a manager. And that means I get at most 1 D budget that I get to use as a discretionary budget. We've spent a good deal of time pointing out small subtleties in our ER diagrams. I also want to impress upon you that we get complexity because ER diagrams can get to be very, very big. In a large organization, it's not at all unusual for an ER diagram to take up an entire wall. And I can tell you, although this photo was taken from the internet, I have certainly had personal experience walking into the offices of people at banks and other large institutions where they have these size of ER diagrams up to keep track of what's going on in their organization.